Hello, my name is Paul Sladen. I've been working on Debian for a long time and Ubuntu for about the last 7 years. 6 months ago, I even started working at Canonical, but I've been involved with Ubuntu for a lot longer. I now work in the design team at Canonical. I wear a t-shirt, okay? Everyone else in the design team is very smartly dressed people. They look like Italians with pinstripes, and they're very well dressed. You and I might wear a t-shirt, okay, but we are techies, right, on the whole. So one of the things I do is I try and translate between designer speak. They dress differently. They even use a different operating system, I'll let you know, macOS, okay? They are, we're working on them slowly. Every time one of the designers installs Ubuntu, there's a massive round of applause because that's seen as a massive achievement. If we can get designers to install Ubuntu, we can tackle everyone. So I also got a little announcement I'm going to make today. This is the most frequently asked question I get. It's about Ubuntu Mono. We've done the Ubuntu font family, and this is the thing that you can see in your interface. It's on my badge, but you're probably familiar with it as the font everywhere for the last year. It's the new logo type for Ubuntu. There are three things that Canonical is trying to do. One is we're actually trying to make a decent open font ecosystem. If you know IBM, they get involved with open source software on the licenses. And what we want to do is get existing commercial font foundries to work together as part of a sustainable ecosystem to make commercial companies want to make open source fonts. We're still working on it, but that includes licensing that they're comfortable with. It includes allowing them to know how to interact with the community. We're working on it. The second thing is to make some free fonts. Now, we're bringing one font to the party. Well, actually, it's not one. It's 13 fonts, which is the Ubuntu font family. And finally, after you've got an ecosystem, a sustainable free font ecosystem, and some fonts, you need to get it on the free desktop. So in Debian, in KDE, in GNOME. We've got it in Unity, and it's really good. In the last 6 months, both GNOME and Ubuntu have started using free fonts. So GNOME now uses Cantrell. This is a massive improvement for your users. Blah, 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 blah. Don't worry about that. When you make a font, fonts have a habit of spreading in the wild, even if they're not finished. How many people sort of just borrow a font? Maybe you've seen people's computers with thousands of fonts on. Trouble is, we're still working on this one. So we're trying to work out how to develop a font in the open without people getting old and buggy versions. The way we've done that is we've first tested it within the design team in Canonical, then the whole of Canonical, and then a public beta team, which is going to be very important in a minute for Ubuntu Mono, and then finally font.ubuntu.com in distributions. Oh, I prepared this talk in Hungary. Now, in England, it's illegal to take photographs of the police. So as you can see, I've taken a picture of a tram, and the police car in front is purely coincidental, but this is one of the things we can fix in a free font. Originally, the accents on top of the letters were at a slightly different angle, okay? Like this. And Hungarian users came along and said, no, I have to look at this every day. It doesn't work. You need them the same angle, okay? It's an open font. We can fix this. This is a massive advantage over proprietary fonts where it's just like, ship it. Can't do anything. It's broken. It's wrong. But people have a right to use an operating system in their own language, okay? And that includes beautiful, readable fonts. Oh, Ubuntu Mono. Right. Has anyone here with an Ubuntu machine tried setting Ubuntu as their terminal font because they thought it was awesome? Okay, well, none of you lot have, but it turns out loads of people have, and loads of people have filed bugs that it doesn't work. Well, it's not going to work because the terminal, everything, it's very German, it's very exact, yeah? Everything is exactly the same size in the terminal. And it turns out in normal fonts, things aren't exactly the same size. The @ sign is enormous. So is an M, okay? But an I or an L are very, very dainty and thin, not like me, unfortunately. I'm more of B shape, I think. So we have to solve that. And what we've chosen to do is we have Ubuntu Mono. And this, later today, when I upload it, is going to go into public beta. So you're the first to hear about this. And this allows you to use it in your terminal. To make this possible, you have to bend letters, okay? Because if you put an I in the middle of a big box, it looks very lost. There's loads of space around it, and it starts sort of flapping. Whereas there's something like an M, you have to squeeze it up. And this is a very hard problem. So making monospaces is fairly difficult, but hopefully we've managed. The other thing with the monospace is that you sometimes have physical restrictions. You have to distort the shape of characters to fit into that box. So here's an example of a tram in Budapest where you've done that. They've had to make the accent fit somehow. Can you spot the difference? One of these is Ubuntu, and one of these is Ubuntu Mono. And you're going like, oh, okay, big deal. Well, this is perhaps quite reassuring, because if you like the Ubuntu font, if you don't, I'm really sorry, we'll try again next time. But if you like the Ubuntu font, you can be sure that Ubuntu Mono is fairly similar. Now, I missed out some characters on the last slide. Those are all the characters that are actually different. So you can start to see what's been done to them. Up here, things like the J in Ubuntu Mono, to try and fill out the width, you give a serif, even though it's a non-serif font. And the same's happened here and here. Now the M and the W are the opposite problem, okay? They've had to get thinner in order to fit. And if you look at something like the shape of the @ sign, it's actually completely different. This whole piece here is missing. And finally, when you're programming, it's really important that you can tell certain letters apart, like a capital O and a 0. And in Denmark, they have an O/, which means you can't just put a slash through your numbers. So the solution we're working at the moment is a dot in the middle of the 0 to help differentiate it. You also, on commas here, if you ever think of a typewriter, you also have the same kind of little daintiness just to fill out the space. Here's some of the design ideas that were done in order to get there. We have, I asked for this scan of one of the designers who was working at Dalton Marg on it, and you can see the various attempts that were made to try and fill out the space. These characters are the majority of the design work. I have 2 minutes left, Ivan. I'm really sorry. Some of the letters in this monospace font proved extremely difficult. Here's all the attempts at getting an M, okay? Here's basically just squidging. Here's an attempt at making one of the stems slightly thinner. The solution we finally settled on, which tested the best, was this. And this is a fairly unique solution, but it hopefully provides a little bit of separation. And we can also apply that to Shah in Russian and Sai in Greek. The other thing, the last most recent change we made is frequently when you're reading a manual. Who reads manuals? Okay, none of you lot, right. Completely pointless thing. Anyway, it turns out other people do read manuals. And one of the things they like to be able to do is tell the difference between what is text and what is a variable. So the Ubuntu Mono is 12% smaller. If you need to get back the original characters, you can just multiply it by 12%, and it all works perfectly. But it's 12% smaller, which means that in a line of text, very subtly, you can just see the difference in height. Your eyes will spot it without actually distorting the font. We're going to put this everywhere we can. Control-Alt-F1, X terminals. We should fix it everywhere. Here's why I actually came, in my last 29 seconds, here's why I came to Zagreb, okay? Ooh, wrong. It's up here. This is Ubuntu Mono in use every day. Now, you have preferred forms in Cyrillic, particularly, and this is where I'd like your help and assistance, because I suspect a lot of you have traveled a long way, but you're still in the general region. We have some letters which are vary in the local preferred Cyrillic forms. Now, we're an open font. If you tell us it's wrong, we can fix this, okay? So depending on the language setting, it should automatically come up in your preferred font. Right. Well, maybe I should just give up at that point. I've had my time. Also, your Romanians will be glad that... Oh, never mind. Anyway, T, S, we've also fixed for Romanian, and that was due to assistance with people. I don't know what I did there. I managed to...
Another window.
Oh. Anyway, Ubuntu rocks, doesn't it? Yeah, let's end it there. Thank you very much. I have about minus 30 seconds, so if you have any questions, then probably save them for later, but thank you very much.
Thank you very much.